lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on.
He missed the pit completely. He's crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to Mid-Ohio, home of Round 3 in the DIYSim.com BMW Z4 Challenge, and you're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm your host, Joe Peak. With me in the booth today are Samuel Ryman and Bill Zahn. As always, our cameras have been provided by Doug Beard and are directed by Kevin Brown. Being born and raised in the same state, Mid-Ohio is a home course for myself. But rather than wax poetic, I'm going to hand off to Sam to tell the viewers a few of the facts about this historied circuit.
Well, it's a circuit of two different circuits almost, Joe. At the start of a lap, there's many overtaking opportunities, a lot of straights that lead into turns that, as I say, provide good passing opportunities. But it's 2.25 miles in total, and for the second half of that lap, it is all a single file ride. You are stuck behind the car in front of you, absolutely nowhere to pass whatsoever. 13 turns on this track, although I'm sure it feels like a lot more than that. And this will be a 45-minute race here today. It will be a timed race, so not quite sure how many laps that will turn out to be.
And they will have at least one pit stop in those 45 minutes that everyone will have to do. But let's hop over to the championship. Bill, with 3 rounds down, what are the points looking like?
Well, it's 3 races, but really it's only 2 official races. Wyatt Gooden is, I'm going to channel my Darrell Waltrip here and coin a phrase. He is speedictable because he has speed every race, and it's predictable that he's going to have it. He's 130 points. He's well ahead by 26 points over Matt Malone. Craig McKenzie is in third, 30 points back. Justin Allen is in fourth, 36 back, and Joseph Anderson rounds out the top 5 at 38 back from our leader. Now, the top 11 drivers are all here today. There's no dropped races, so if Gooden keeps up this this pace, I think the best hope is for the other drivers is some type of Gooden family get together that he's going to have to miss a race. Otherwise, some guy's going to have to find a way to get to this guy. Back to you, Joe.
I think Wyatt must be using strategery to get himself ahead of the field. We have a lap guide to go to around here as the drivers are doing their qualifying laps now that we're watching on screen. So let's hop on board and see what it's like inside the car as they make their way around. All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Mid-Ohio. Turn 1 is going to be a very fast left-hander. A lot of guys have blown their lap or their race in this corner because it's so high commitment. There's this nasty curve on the inside, and putting wheels into the grass on the outside can easily send you spinning into the barriers on the left. And just to add to the pressure, now we approach the keyhole, which is a passing opportunity, so getting a run out of 1 is important. Equally as critical is your exit of this hairpin. The elevation change makes it tough, but failing to put the power down soon enough will cause you to lose time down the long, kinked backstretch. We'll just straighten out this little right-hander, flat out the whole way down, then stay to the left to set up for China Beach. It's very possible to defend from the outside here if you can hold on until it switches back left. This is the entry to the aptly named Madness. There's some drastic crests and blind corners all throughout these S's. Make sure and set yourself up for each subsequent corner. Now we fly through 7 and 8, and you're really blind as you approach the tricky braking zone of 9. Try to straighten out your exit to help put the power down as you come into Thunder Valley. Here the wall's narrow and it feels like a street course for a bit. 11 is another aim for the apex and pray type of corner, and it's frighteningly fast. You want to use the whole track since you're going to square off the carousel here. There's lots of lines that you can take through this corner, but make sure you're on the right side as you finish it, because lifting through 13 is sacrifice time. But that's a lap around Mid-Ohio. And as we watch Wyatt Gooden make his way around on his qualifying laps, they're going to have 4 solo qualifying laps around this circuit for about 15 minutes worth of time that they're allowed to put those 4 laps in as we watch guys try and sort themselves out on the timing sheets. Well, we talked about, or at least Sam mentioned, the 2 contrasting sides of this circuit, but we've also had contrasting races so far as well, Sam, between the first round at Canada and then last week at Spa. They were very different in nature, it seemed.
Yeah, a very chaotic race at Spa last week. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see the Canada race, but from what I understand about the race, it was very processionary, easy for me to say. But yeah, at Spa-Francorchamps, we saw a bit of everything. We saw a driver, Wyatt Gooten, basically didn't jump at the start, but got a great start ahead of everyone else, and then a huge battle from second back to about 10th emerged, where they kept banging on each other's fenders to the extent, Joe, where some of them went over the incident point cap and got disqualified from the race, which moved some drivers from the midfield up to the front, which just meant we had a bizarre running order by the end of the race.
It definitely threw a curveball into things. And, speaking of the incidents, Bill, obviously I don't think we're expecting quite as many around here since an off can be a little bit more disastrous than at Spa. But what are some of the trouble zones that you think these guys are going to have to watch out for?
Well, this track is really interesting, especially from a backmarker's point of view, because the back half is so technical. I think we're going to be looking at incidents from lead lap drivers who are just impatient, because it's going to be really hard for a lapped car to get out of the way. Let me give you a few numbers here that I was running. We had a lot of guys disqualified from incidents totals. Wyatt Gooden, if you figure incidents like miles per gallon, miles per incident, he's averaging 27 miles per incident. Now you take that into comparison with Leandro Schmidt, who's averaging 3.7 miles per incident. So that's where you have guys. Schmitz, who's very fast, he's really got to learn to keep his car on the track.
Yeah, and we've seen in other series, especially in endurance series, even though this is a little bit more of a race in the DIY Sim.com BMW Z4 Challenge, that it's the guys that manage to keep it clean tend to be the ones that wind up in front. I've seen it time after time in all the series that we broadcast.
Well, just to follow up on that, Gooden, Malone, and McKenzie are all at the top of the charts for miles per incident. And the guys who are fast but farther down, like we talked about, have much lower numbers.
And it looks like we're starting to see things shape up. We've still got about half the qualifying left to go. Right now, Gooden is topping the qualifying sheets with Kevin Vaughn not too far behind. And that's what it was looking like just in the practice as well, Sam. So I think we're going to see another round of these guys duking it out.
Yeah, I think Gooden is done with these qualifying times, but he's a couple of tenths slower than what he was in practice. So I don't know if he just got a lap in practice where he got the slipstream of another car. Obviously, this is solo qualifying going on right now, so you can't get a slipstream off of any car. Kevin Vaughn and Mark Zeidler and even Alex Below just over Kevin and Mark are within a tenth of Wyatt Gooden's qualifying time, so it's very close there up at the board. And honestly, Joe, from what I've seen so far this season, someone is going to have to try and take pole from Wyatt Gooden if they want a chance to beat him in the race, because I'm a little concerned that we could see a repeat of Spa, where if Wyatt Gooden gets a good start, remember it's a rolling start here in this series, it might be game over before it's even begun.
Yeah, and Gooden employed the same tactics when we had that race at Canada 2 weeks ago as well. It was very much getting himself a sort of Vettel-esque gap and then just controlling the race from there. Now, there is the one pit stop, though, for these guys to maybe try and out-strategize him. We saw last week at Spa that a lot of guys were trying to run as long as they can to try and stay out of some of that traffic as some of the lapped cars, or not lapped cars rather, but cars that went longer than them might get in front if they stay out.
Yeah, strategy, and it looks like qualifying's finishing up here. Strategy could be much more important at Mid-Ohio than what it was at Spa, Joe, because this is a much smaller track than Spa-Francorchamps, almost twice as small. So that means we're going to have more lap traffic. When you pit, you've got a higher risk, you run a higher risk of coming out into traffic. So, you've really got to be managing your time, looking at who's in front of you, looking at who's faster, who's coming up behind you, trying to avoid the battles, trying to avoid the traffic, plan your pit stops around that. And if you can get that right, you can gain 5, maybe even 10 positions in a series as competitive as this.
Well, qualifying seems to have wrapped up. I hear one car out there, but I can't figure out who exactly it is. But pretty much everyone has put their laps in at this point. Oh, at the top on the pole is Wyatt Gooden sitting in first. Then Kevin Vaughn completing the front row in second. Mark Zeidler starts the second row in third. Alex Balau is in fourth. Leandro S. Schmidt is in fifth. Kyle Potts is starting sixth. Derek Waller is starting in seventh. Then Clint Myers is in eighth. Scott Power is ninth, and Sam, we have Matthew Thill in 10th.
Then we have Craig McKenzie in 11th, who's pretty fast, so I don't know what he's doing down there. Kevin Ross is in 12th, and Matt Malone in 13th, I believe, is in the top 5 in the points. We'll check on that in a second. Mark Robertson starting 14th, John LaBaffe starting 15th, George Fike from the MX5 World Tour is starting 16th, Joseph Anderson starting 17th, Lee McGovern starting 18th, Bruce Paul starting 19th, and Justin Allen rounds up the top 20, Bill.
21st, Donnie Leonard. 22nd, Lance Snyder. Behind him, Thomas Pendergrass. Patrick Nguyen in 24th spot. Christopher Thompson in 25th. And the last 2 spots are taken by Hiro Kanea and John Kelly.
Now, interesting note about Matt Malone sitting in 13th. He is currently second in the points, so he is much farther down than I'm sure he wants to be, Bill.
Yeah, but a name to keep an eye on is Kevin Vaughn. Now, he's not up in the points. He's not anything that I mentioned there because he missed a race. And there are no dropped races in this series like I talked about earlier. So Kevin is certainly somebody that could give Gooden some problems. And also keep an eye on Mark Zeidler, too. I didn't mention him in the points because he missed a race as well.
We've got a few minutes left to go for the qualifying to time out in case there is anybody who comes in late and wants to try and set a lap. So they have to play it fair and allow this to time out as we look at that orange and white car. I'm not sure who exactly that is out on the track right now. And it looks like that's Matt Malone, actually, our second place driver that we mentioned earlier, who's just kind of wheeling it around. They're allowed to continue to do laps, so there's nothing that says they aren't allowed to keep going around. The laps just simply won't count.
There is one driver, Joe, who does still have one qualifying lap. That's Christopher Thompson is currently on track. He is currently 25th on the qualifying board, and even he is 3/10 back of the 24th place car, so he would have to pick up quite a bit to improve his position. But I just want to make another comment on Matt Malone. He was 11th in practice and 13th in qualifying, so either we're going to find out today if he's just a driver who's very consistent and is there at the end, or is he a driver that just doesn't like this track?
Well, I think to follow up on that, Sam, we have to remember these points are a little skewed because our race last week, so many drivers, so many of the top names were eliminated due to the incident infractions. So there's a lot of drivers like McKenzie and Malone that maybe wouldn't be as high if it wasn't for the problems that the faster drivers had.
So being clean is going to be important because that incident limit is at every track. So guys can't continue to bang doors too much or have too many offs throughout the race. As we continue to watch Christopher Thompson wheel his way around. He's going through China Beach right now. Now, this is going to be a very interesting little point on the track, guys, because most of the times it's possible to defend from around the outside of there. And I think we're going to see some very interesting battles as guys get a draft down that back straightaway.
China Beach is really the last great overtaking opportunity on the circuit unless you really want to be ambitious. As you see, walls around here now for Thunder Valley as Christopher Thompson comes into the final turn, the carousel, where you could attempt a crossover. But yeah, like you say, Joe, China Beach and the turn before it, turn 2, that's where we're really going to see the major overtaking opportunities. I think Christopher Thompson across the line jumps up 2 spots to 23rd.
Very nicely done to Christopher Thompson. So that bumps down Thomas Pendergrass to 24th, Patrick Nguyen to 25th, Hiro Kanai to 26th, and John Kelly to 27th. He also stopped right there. You saw turn 1. And Bill, that one really catches a number of drivers out. Even professionals in the real world, you see them go wide because it's just so incredibly fast around that corner. And there is runoff, but boy, you're taking a wild ride across the grass if you take just a little bit too much speed.
I jumped in the BMW just to get used to the feel of it before the racing. Yeah, turn left, and I'm driving again from the safety of my sim rig in Green Valley Lake. It is definitely scary. I can't imagine doing it in real world.
And qualifying has now ended, so they are getting ready to grid up. They're going to do a full, complete lap around this place. It won't be like the real world if you are familiar with Mid-Ohio, where they tend to start on the back stretch. They're actually going to start on the front stretch, where the start-finish line usually has only restarts. So these guys are going to have something of an interesting start to the race, Sam, with that carousel having probably, I suspect, about half the field still exiting it.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting pace lap with all the twisty portions on the circuit. One thing talking about this car, I think GT drivers have found that this car is very responsive. It kind of goes where you want it to go, which is why it can get problematic sometimes. That really the only way to gain speed is to push it really hard, push it right to its limit. But that's going to be a bit more difficult for these drivers today, Joe, because it is 89 degrees with a 12-mile-an-hour northerly wind, and that could upset cars at parts on the track where drivers aren't used to having their cars get upset.
And as we look at the field all gridded up and waiting for the pace car to take off, speaking of the setup of the car and the way the car handles and things like that with the temperatures, all these guys are on even footing right now because this is a fixed setup series. Now, when we say that, Bill, what do we mean by a fixed setup?
Well, it's a adjusted fixed setup. The series managers have taken the baseline setup that iRacing provides and tweaked it a little bit to provide for better racing. Now, there's lots of adjustments that can be made normally. They're not going to be able to be made here. These guys, everybody has what they have, and it really makes for, it's really, instead of an engineering race, it's really driver against driver now.
Yeah, it's what you've got in your feet and your brain and your hands is making all the difference today. And I think they should be taking off any second here on that pace lap. It's certainly, pace car is certainly sitting there for quite a while. I would have thought he'd taken off. There he goes. Now they are accelerating away and getting ready to head off. Now I have to ask, and I think I know whoever is answering first is going to pick who I think they're going to pick. Who do you guys think is going to win today?
Wyatt Gooden, since I'm first. There we go. Shoot. Your turn, Sam.
Let's see. Kevin Vaughan was second in qualifying. He was second in practice. And I'm going second. Let's pick Kevin Vaughan.
I hate to be predictable, but with Zeidler sitting in third, he does seem a bit of a dark horse. We've seen him up front, so I'm going to have to pick Zeidler as we watch the cars work their way through that 180-degree keyhole corner and now on to the backstretch. So this is, between these top three guys, although, we have to say, even though we've kind of picked predictable predictions up at the top there, look at those times on the qualifying. 120.593 for Wyatt Gooden. Kevin Vaughan, 120.604. Less than a tenth behind him. And then less than 10th behind him is Mark Zeidler. In fact, the top four, it looks like, are all just about within a tenth of each other.
And Joe, something I've noticed here, a bit of developing news. Our driver, actually a league organizer, was scheduled to start 10th place. Matthew Thiel, who is usually a front runner, is going to be starting from the pits. So we'll wait and see whether that turns out to be a smart move. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, Matthew Thiel last week at Spa-Francorchamps was turned around on about lap 2 and actually rallied from the back to get a 10th place finish, so he certainly knows how to drive through the field.
Maybe he just savored the challenge and we might get to see him do it again, but right now they're heading through Thunder Valley, so it's about to be on as they've got just 2 or 3 more corners, and then we'll get to see 45 minutes of racing and the DIYSim.com BMW Z4 Challenge now heading into the carousel through that fast left-hander, very blind left-hander too. A number of guys will be caught out throughout the day. I can almost guarantee you that we'll have an off by someone there. Now the pace car heads off into the pits. and they get the green flag as Wyatt accelerates away, almost runs into Kevin Vaughn, and it looks like actually Vaughn is trying to hold on as they come up to turn 1. Is he going to be able to do it? He's going to have a little bit more momentum around the outside, but he just isn't able to, as now Mark Zeidler looks like he has a chance coming up to the keyhole, Sam.
Yep, and that's exactly what Gooden needed to do in that blue car there. Kevin Vaughan in the green car takes second position. Zeidler had to check out, and there's contact, and Zeidler goes off. He made contact with the driver who's now in third place. Actually, who's now in second place, Kevin Vaughan. Sorry, I'm getting bad stats here. Leandro Schmidt made contact with Zeidler there, and now there's a big gap between the top 2 cars and Schmidt.
Meanwhile, they head into China Beach, and it looks like everything is all hunky-dory at the moment. We've got a few cars going side by side as Zeidler is well back into the pack. In fact, currently he is right behind Matt Malone and is side by side with him as they head up towards the braking that takes them into Thunder Valley.
And that is a battle for 13th position. Meanwhile, Bill, how has the back of the field been?
You know, while it was exciting up front, these guys really behaved. Everyone got through cleanly, and you know, for the first 3 races now, they've been very clean on the opening laps.
Now, I'm thinking this could be critical for Vaughn, who is still holding on to the back of Gooden at the moment. He hasn't dropped him yet, and I think he's going to want to try and hold on to the back of that car as long as he can, since we all know that Gooden is very good when he's up by himself up front.
Justin Allen just got turned around by Thomas Pendergrass in the back of the field.
Let's see if we can get a replay of that, possibly.
Well, right before we mention that, I will emphasize no cautions in this series.
Yes, and we can see that took place in the carousel, and now we're going back long enough that we can see it. Car just got underneath him, and you can go too wide through there, but you got to play nice, and whoever that was that tipped him certainly wasn't playing nice enough. He only had a nose in and not quite enough there. So, back up at the front, still have Gooden, then Vaughn. Then we have Leandro Schmidt, then Alex Bilal sitting in 4th, Kyle Potts not far behind in 5th, and Clint Myers in 6th. With Scott Power in 7th, very close behind, and then finally we have a gap back to Derek Waller in 8th.
Leandro Schmidt has been, as Kevin Vaughan gets really close to Gooden in the carousel there, Schmidt has been running them down a little bit, and I can't help but wonder how much of that is due to the slipstream. But now I've got to begin to wonder, Joe, as Kevin Vaughan is really in striking distance of Gooden, the 2 best overtaking opportunities on the circuit coming up for these 2 drivers now. Does he just sit back and play it patient, knowing there's 41 minutes left in this race, or does he need to make his move as soon as he can?
It's a good question. It kind of depends on whether or not he thinks he has better pace, because if he's closing up on like this on just pure pace, as now it looks like Gooden might be going defensive. No, he returns back to the outside, but Kevin Vaughn is going to make an attempt coming into China Beach. He's got the inside line. Like I said, you can defend, and it looks like Gooden is employing that right now as it switches back to the left, coming into Madness, and Gooden holds on to the lead.
And the big winner there is Leandro Schmidt.
Yes, he's caught up right behind them. You can see them all 3 in that camera shot now as they head up over the crest into the braking of 9. And this could be a really good opportunity for him to take advantage if Vaughn makes another attempt.
Meanwhile, Bill, I've noticed Justin Allen has pulled into the pits and he is yet to exit. It looks like he might be done for the day.
Yeah, I think that was the contact that we saw there. I didn't think it was that bad of a damage. I'll review to see if there was anything else I missed. I want to keep an eye on Mark Zeidler now. He's running back in 10th place after he got just bumped off there. He certainly has the speed to make his way up through the pack, so he's right behind Craig McKenzie right now in 9th, and he's going to close down on him pretty soon, and next up is Derek Waller after that.
Meanwhile, back up at the front, Kevin Vaughn is starting to lose touch of Wyatt Gooden as they come through the keyhole. Now, I'm not sure if the draft was coming into play or if maybe he just got rattled a little bit, but he doesn't have the pace this time by. Maybe he just needs to recollect himself. Leandro Schmidt is still holding behind them, but definitely no pass attempt this time by into China Beach.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it's not, Joe. It's definitely not tyres. You're not going to burn off your tyres in a race like this, because we were seeing cars in practice run about 15 laps and still able to keep their lap times within 1 or 2 tenths as when the tyres were new. But I'll tell you what, I think it was just Kevin having a bit of a bad lap, because he's beginning to close back up on Wyatt through the infield section again.
Meanwhile, jumping a little bit farther back, Kyle Potts has Clint Myers very close behind him, and that is battle for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, battles all throughout the top 15, and off goes Myers, but able to keep it on in the carousel, but he's going to lose the position to Scott Power.
Clint Myers just had a huge moment there, and thankfully, I can't understand how he kept the car on track there. And as you said, Scott Power has moved himself up into that 6th position thanks to that little bobble, and it comes down to these little mistakes that make the difference up at the top.
Meanwhile, as Bill pointed out, Mark Seidler has rallied back up. He is now in the top 10 position in front of Craig McKenzie. Got a bit of a gap in front of him to Derek Waller. Now, I believe, where did Waller qualify? Waller qualified 7th, so he's dropped back 2 spots. Yeah, so Derek Waller not having a great race so far, Joe, but he's still up there in case anything crazy happens. Meanwhile, it looks like a battle for 2nd may be heating up.
And that is between Kevin Vaughn in that green and black car, and Leandro Schmidt with that white and black car, as those two try to wrestle that middle podium spot away from each other coming into Thunder Valley. And if they do, this is going to be very good for Gooden, because he's going to start to be able to pull away as soon as they start battling, if they battle.
Yeah, top 20 cars are within 20 seconds of another, so it has been a relatively clean start. Everyone's still kind of in competition, so pit strategy could certainly become a key player in this. But Bill, is it safe to say that the racing's been pretty clean in the back so far?
It's very good. I've been keeping my eye on Mark Seidler because I really think he's the guy to watch making his way up through the field. He's gotten around McKenzie now and has worked his way up into nice spots. So like you said, next on the list is Derek Waller. I'm going to watch him make his way through the field.
And Derek Waller has quite a gap between himself and Mark Seidler in 8th and 9th, as we see Seidler in that black and red car and Derek Waller way up ahead in the white, black, and red BMW. So it looks like it's going to be just a few laps possibly of Seidler trying to rifle off some fast pace and not having to worry so much about maybe trying to overtake a few cars. Now, I've also been trying to watch Matthew Thill, who started from pit lane, and that gives you a bit of a disadvantage because you don't get out immediately with the tail of the field. You do have some time to make up usually, and Thill is already in 21st, Bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he started from the pits. Maybe he was expecting problems. Let's have our director take a quick look up here in 12th position to George Fike. There's a great battle going on. We talked about Matt Malone not having a good starting spot. He's worked his way up to, I think, about 12th, and he's in a battle right now with George Fike for 12th, 13th spot there. These guys have been going at it for, several laps.
And interestingly, the leaders just went through some lap traffic already. That was Justin Allen, who got tipped into a spin on lap 1 in the carousel. So right now he is currently in front of Alex Bilal, and I think he's going to let Alex... No, he's actually gone defensive on Alex, and Alex has to go the long way around. Now he lets him by as they exit the keyhole, and I'm sure Alex did not appreciate that move very, very well, Sam.
Yeah, no, Justin Allen, he may have been in the racing line there, but he's been predictable about the lines it's going to take, so I don't think he should pose too much trouble to the field, which has strung out single file so far. Meanwhile, Joe, a bit of breaking news. Kevin Ross, who was running in 13th position, has lost the internet connection, which is iRacing's version of a mechanical failure, if you will. He is out of the race.
Also, Clint Meyer had an off into the grass, put it in the wall, so he's dropped back to 9th position, which puts Seidler up one more spot into 8th.
Now, Clint Meyer is the one we saw have a bobble a little bit earlier, and they're all on the same setup, so I'm wondering if he just does not like this setup as we watch him come out of, or into Thunder Valley, rather, and once again, his car looked a little bit squirrely coming over that crest, so whatever it is, wow, and another huge bobble entering into the carousel, so he really does not like the handling of this car, and that could be accentuated by the fact that you said he ran into the wall. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, he put it in pretty good.
The ugliest car on the track right now, guys, is Donny Leonard. He was running in 17th position. He is all the way down the 23rd now, and if we get a camera on him, he is missing the whole front hood and the left front fender on that car, and he is coming down pit road.
Probably a smart call, even though it's a bit early, although they should just about be into the pit window. We've got 34 minutes left to go. Usually they've got about 15 minutes, I believe, that they can get in there. But let's hop back to Zeidler, who has caught up to Scott Power and is trying to wrestle that away from him.
And there he goes. He's picking these guys off one by one. This is going to move him up into the 7th position.
Wow, look at that, coming around the outside into madness. Oh,
Uh-oh.
He gets squirrely. He gets a little bit of help from Power, but he does not hit the wall, just a slight tap in the back. That shouldn't pose very much damage, but once again, having to make up a bunch of ground for poor Mark Zeidler.
Back to the drawing board for Mark.
We're going to watch the replay of that. Yes, there we go. And hop back just a little bit farther. This was looking like an incredible move here. Just watch this coming around the outside of that corner. That is no mean feat. And then just gets a little loose. And unfortunately, I don't think there was anything that Power could have done there. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, Sam.
Meanwhile, we've got a really big battle from 18th to 22nd being led by Thomas Pendergrass. Matthew Thiel trying to make his way from his pit start. He's in it. Patrick Nguyen, Bruce Paul, Lance Snyder, and Christopher Thompson, all in this huge pack. They're being respectful of one another, but certainly I wouldn't want to, as I say that, Patrick Nguyen throws a block on Bruce Paul going into the first corner. So this is quite entertaining to watch right now, Joe.
Meanwhile, Thomas Pendergrass is very much under threat from Matthew Thiel, and closes up under braking, just about outbrakes himself, but stays out of that black and red car's rear end. Now he's going to have a very good opportunity. He is well within the draft as they speed down the backstretch.
Meanwhile, not missing a whole lot up front. They've kind of spread out as they come down into this overtaking opportunity here. Matthew Thiel takes a look down the inside, and you know Matthew wants to get out of this Trulli train because he qualified up there in 10th position. He should be much faster than these cars, although he got a little bit of wheel spin here, which I always thought was a bit hard to do with the traction control in this car, but there you go. That just shows you how hard he's pushing, Joe.
And keep in mind that the traction control is set at the minimum setting, so they're only just getting a little bit of help. They still are very much in control of these cars. Now heading through Thunder Valley up to that blind left-hander, and not going to get an opportunity here, although he could get an over-under around the carousel. All he's got to get is a good launch out of here.
And if we could take a second to set the table for the viewers, really we're looking at just a couple sets of drivers, Gooden, Vaughn, and Schmidt in a tight battle up in the front. And then they're followed not too far back, maybe 4 or 5 seconds back by Baleo and Potts. Then after that, it's a long way back to Waller and the rest of the field.
And I'll tell you something, Joe, you alluded to this at the start of a race, but as we almost see a collision there for P17, Matthew Thiel now stuck on the outside line and being freight trained. You alluded to this at the start of a race, Joe, about incident points. I haven't seen a whole lot of cars putting wheels off, so it should be safe to say that all these drivers should be able to make the end of a race without risking disqualification. Although as we watch Patrick Nguyen and Matthew Thiel still going at it here, car contact certainly isn't going to help your incident point limit. Fortunately, haven't seen too much of that so far, but these guys are trying.
And Phil seems to be moving a little bit backwards. As you mentioned, he did have a little bit help a little earlier. But this is going to get more and more difficult as he gets farther up the field. The guys, even though he might have qualified 10th, we keep saying it in racing, but it's so true. It's one thing to catch a driver. It's another to pass them.
Absolutely, but and Patrick Nguyen goes wide. He takes a look, but not happening in the carousel. Very tight portion of the circuit here as they come around to put 10 laps on the board. I think we're going to be seeing about a 30-lap race. No pit stops have been starting yet, Joe, but I can't imagine they're too far away.
Yes, we're just hitting the 30-minute mark, so I think we should be seeing some guys trying to employ a little bit earlier strategy and make it in. Meanwhile, Matthew Thiel closing up under braking on Patrick Nguyen into the keyhole, and let's see if he can get a better launch this time and try and get himself. Oh, and Nguyen has a bobble coming out of that corner, and it wasn't quite enough though. Unfortunately, I thought Phil would close in just a little bit faster. The draft is going to pull him in, but with that right and left, back and forth. Just not going to have a good chance to try and make a pass in China Beach. Yeah, they all stay line astern. So we've got a bit of a truly train still behind Thomas Pendergrass from 17th all the way back down to 22nd.
And Mark Zeidler is back at it again. He's worked his way back up through George Fike one more time. Next in his sights is Matt Malone to get up into the 11th position.
And that would be Zeidler in that red and black car with Matt Malone in that orange and white one as he tries to hunt him down. I'm sorry, that is Zeidler is in a white and black car. I apologize. But he's got a little bit of space, so not quite much going on. Let's check back with those leaders to see what is going on. And it looks like Gooden is starting to pull a bit of a gap. This is dangerous for Vaughn and Schmidt, because if he can continue to do that, they are not going to be able to do much, especially in the pit stops.
You know, let's talk about pits real quick. I'm tired of these guys telling me they're changing tires. I think Sam is on the money here. For the first two races, they've been preaching, oh, yeah, we're going to change tires. I don't think that's going to happen. So now, with the difference only like 0.7 seconds to between Vaughn and Gooden, it's really a matter of how much fuel can you not take.
And that's a very dangerous game to play, as, you know, if you get down to tenths of fuel, sometimes that tenth can lose you a place with how close things are today. You look at Kevin Vaughn in that green car with Leandro Schmidt behind him in the white and black car. If he loses, if he is just short on fuel, you know, down to one corner, that's all it's going to take for Leandro to accelerate past him at the line. So the tighter you play it, the more you risk.
Guys, I think it was a collision in that battle for 17th that we were watching. Patrick Nguyen and Matthew Thiel had contact last lap, and I've just seen a lot of the drivers that were in that battle have been on pit road and been getting repairs. But let's go back up to this battle for the lead, because it is interesting. Kevin Vaughn, 2 laps ago, ran his fastest lap of a race. Last lap he overshot turn 2 though, which cost him a bit of time. But it certainly shows you that he's trying and that he has the pace. If he can just stop making mistakes, he might be able to catch Gooden.
Well, and this shows the kind of driver that Vaughn is. He's not just going to sit back and keep racking up second places. He is going to try and run down Gooden. And, you know, it's do or die trying.
Battle for 6. Battle for 6. There's three-way. Scott Power just passed Derek Wallen on the outside, and now Clint Myers going down the inside of him. This isn't usually where we see passes happening, Joe, but it's all happening from 6th on back to about 12th place. One large pack.
Well, and like I mentioned earlier, small mistakes can give opportunities, and guys are going to be pouncing, especially up at the top with the depth of talent in this field. You just have to grasp it whatever you can. But look at this, another truly train that we've got going here behind Power, because they are not very far. Oh, and we've got a slowing car. I'm sorry, that was Justin Allen, who is a lap down. And that actually was giving an opportunity for Zeidler, who is trying to go on the inside of Matt Malone through turn 1. That is a brave move to do. He's going to have a much better chance as they head towards the keyhole.
Yeah, I have a feeling that lap car may have caused a bit of this, but we're not going to blame him. It's providing us with some...
There was a bit of contact between Malone and Zeidler coming through the keyhole, and Malone actually went off into the grass just momentarily on the exit. Zeidler is now closing in under the draft. Is he going to make a pass attempt? It looks like he's going to take a look to the inside now into China Beach. He tries to outbrake him and does so significantly, and he is well clearing past and is able to make that pass before they enter madness.
You know, I don't want to be the wet blanket here, but I don't know how many contacts Mark Zeidler had with other cars. He might be looking at an incident problem again.
It's all a question of whether or not he had a 4X or a 0X in that first contact and then in that second contact. And there could have been others that we haven't seen. But he is doing a very good job of trying to come back through the field. All he has to do at this point, Bill, I think, is keep from spinning again.
Yep.
Clint Myers wants 6 back. He's all over the back of Scott Power.
Yeah, and just behind them, I'm actually looking at Craig McKenzie and Mark Robertson. That is for 9th and 10th between those two. They were very close coming through the carousel. Let's see if he'll close up coming through that quick turn 1. Not quite enough this time, so that could have been his best opportunity just before that we might have missed.
Now, up in front, Gooden has a 1.2 second lead on Vaughn. I'm thinking he's going to try to stay out as long as he can, as long as he has a clear track. Now, there's really no lap traffic ahead of him, but as soon as he comes up on the back,
And we seem to have lost Bill for a moment there, but I'm looking at Clint Myers, who is trying to get that position back still from Scott Power. He takes a look down into the inside of China Beach. He is alongside, but not for long as it switches back to the left, and now Clint Myers has to give up the ghost. Just behind them, even more battles going on as Craig McKenzie is ahead of Mark Zeidler, who just got past Mark Robertson.
Well,
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me jump in here. Gooden has come up on the back of, so I expect Gooden to make a pit stop. If my push the talk button will keep working, I'm done.
All right. We have a few technical problems, unfortunately, with Bill's button. But in the meantime, whoa, we've got a car off up ahead. Who is that? That is, I couldn't see who exactly that was.
Patrick Nguyen?
Yes, that was Patrick Nguyen who went off.
Yeah, I think the point that Bill was trying to make, I'm sure our viewers got the gist of it, but I'll reiterate for them just in case, is that Gooden is starting to catch lap traffic, and we are approaching the halfway point in this race. But I haven't seen... I mean, I'm pretty sure, Joe, that if a driver's pit now, they can make it to the end. But no, oh, and then we got Mark Robertson off from 11th position over in the keyhole. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Maybe he got tagged. But, there's no reason why these guys can't pit now if they did hit traffic, Joe. I think they're just all trying to play the strategy of stay out as long as they can on this stint so that they only have to take a tiny bit of fuel during their stop and splash and dash.
Well, unfortunately for Mark Robertson, it was a case of just getting mesmerized by the car in front, because that was Craig McKenzie who went off in front of him. You saw on the replay. And that can happen sometimes, Sam, where you pay too much attention. You miss your braking zone because the guy in front of you missed his braking zone. And Robertson was the one who came off worse as he went off track twice in that situation. But let's hop back to current times as I'm watching Mark Zeidler still trying to get by Derek Waller as Zeidler actually heads into the pits.
Smart decision.
That's our first front runner, at least, to make a pit stop.
Yeah, well, he's faster than the guys he was racing against, and they were all beginning to battle, which would have been holding him up, so why not pit now? He can make it to the end. Just take the small amount of fuel that he needs to get his tank full enough to make it to the end of the race, and maybe once pit stop cycles through, he'll be in front of that large pack.
There are 22 minutes left on the clock, so there's still about 5 to 7 minutes left on that pit window for these guys to try and get it done. And I think we're seeing the exact same strategy that we saw last week at Spa, with Gooden, Vaughn, and Schmidt still sitting out there and rifling off laps. And Schmidt has a huge moment coming out into Thunder Valley there. I think these guys are just going to try and go as long as they can so that they don't wind up caught up by any cars that are of similar pace that don't pit.
Oh, wow. Matthew Thiel, Mark Zeidler came out of the pits right in front of Matthew Thiel, and knowing that Zeidler was faster, I was almost wondering if Thiel was just going to let him have it, but he shut down the keyhole, and you can tell how unhappy Zeidler is because he wants that position back, because Thiel still has to make another stop, so Zeidler will eventually come out on top, and Thiel's just costing him a bit of time right now. Zeidler really needs to try and put a gap in front of that silver BMW.
But it was a very decisive pass coming into China Beach there, so great job on Mark Zeidler for making that happen there as he tries to streak away from the gray car of Matthew Thiel coming into China Beach, or into Thunder Valley, I'm sorry. And Thiel had, once again, just a little bit of a slide coming over that crest. There's a number of corners that it seems that these guys are pushing just a little too hard on, Bill.
Yeah, to follow up on the Zeidler incident, he's got to have a hot lap because he wants to get ahead of Malone and McKenzie and Waller, who he was following before he went into the pits. If there was an award, and DIY gives out a ton of awards for this series, cash awards, if there was an award for most cars passed in a race, it would go to Mark Zeidler because he's been going by cars 2 or 3 a lap.
I remember Thiel was kind of ruining the fact that it wasn't cars passed because he had a similar situation last week at Spa where he didn't start in the back. He just had a spin early on, and unfortunately it was a lot of work for no cash reward, but at least the knowledge of a job well done. Meanwhile, I'm watching Clint Myers, who's trying to hunt down Scott Power for that 6th position still, and that, I believe, was some of the guys that Zeidler was amongst, was it not?
Yes, it was. And so he was, McKenzie and Malone and Waller were all there. Back at the front, Gooden is just holding station about 1.2 seconds ahead of Vaughn. These guys are still not pitting. It's still Gooden, Vaughn, Schmidt, below, and Potts running 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Craig McKenzie and George Fike did come down to the pit road last time and have escaped in minimal traffic. And really, this battle for 6th, that's Clint Myers gets loose and gets hit from behind by Derek Waller, so a bit of contact there. And remember, all this battling is just really helping out Zeidler. I was going to say that Zeidler was losing out while they were running single file, but that's certainly not the case now.
Yeah, I was watching that unfold. I thought for sure that Clint was going to try and give an over-under, just square off the corner, but I think he put a little too much in, and that has cost him. Meanwhile, Clint is actually, Derek Waller is in a battle with Matt Malone going side by side through the S's of madness, and they still managed to get through clean, as there was some hairy moments there with those guys trying to battle it out in what's usually a single-file portion.
But look how far away Scott Powers ran in front of him.
Yes, this is very advantageous for him, but also advantageous for Zeidler with them battling. This is going to slow them up a lot.
And into the pits comes Scott Power. So now this is going to be interesting seeing where he comes out with respect to Mark Zeidler.
In fact, let's hop over to Zeidler. He is coming up towards Thunder Valley right now. I'm not sure what the bogey time is on the pits here, but we'll get a very good inkling of where these two sit in just a moment. Zeidler now coming up to turn 10. Where is Power in the pits? It looks like he is still stationary, so he has yet to complete his stop. Zeidler, now he's getting going, and Zeidler is just coming along. I think this is going to be enough. Zeidler looks like he is going to jump that car and move himself up at least one more spot.
No, he's going to jump Myers, but he's not going to be able to jump Power. But if that's all it is, if Zeidler can run down Power now and leapfrog everyone else, I have a feeling he should be able to pass Scott Power, okay?
Absolutely. So that has worked a treat for Mark Zeidler to try and get himself up a few more spots. Meanwhile, we are at about 17 minutes left in the race, so we're running out of time for a pit stop window. These guys have stretched it fairly far up at the front between Wyatt Gooden, Kevin Vaughn, and Leandro Schmidt in the top 3 positions. And Gooden continues to hold that gap, but not stretching it completely, only just under 2 seconds between himself and second place, as we see a car off, and that is Hiro Kanaya, who I believe is just letting the leaders by.
Hiro's one of the most polite drivers you want to see, almost too polite. Sometimes he'll really go the extra mile to let guys by.
Top 10 cars have yet to pit. Everyone 11th on back has been into the pits.
So we are on lap 21 for anybody who is counting. As Sam said, we are expecting about roughly a 30 race around here. So possibly about 9 laps to go for these guys, which means not too many opportunities for passes are left in this race, I have to say, Sam.
No, you only have about 3 overtaking opportunities a lap, but first of all, you got to close down the gap, and you know, it actually just makes it more exciting for us, because if these drivers pit with about 2 or 3 laps left to go and one of them has a bad stop and not going to have a whole lot of time to make it up, and it looks like none of them are in a hurry to come down pit road this lap, Bill.
Matt Malone just got into the back of Thomas Pendergrass as he's trying to lap him.
And we're watching a battle between Mark Zeidler and Scott Power. Zeidler now has the inside. Very excellent move. Choosing to take the outside of that first corner to give himself the inside for the next one, and that has allowed him cleanly pass up into 11th place.
And he's pitted, so I think there's a lot of drivers ahead of him that are going to have to pit that I really think he's going to jump when everything cycles through.
I would say he might end up coming out in about 6th or 7th position.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, it's a long ways up to the next car.
Oh, but he gets tapped by Patrick Nguyen, the lap car, and for the 3rd time this race, Mark Zeidler goes for a spin.
And we're going to watch that replay of that accident in the carousel. And oh, it looks like Nguyen just kind of went off, and I don't think that Zeidler was expecting that. Wow, miraculous save to keep that thing out of the barriers, though. We are back to live as Zeidler, I don't think he lost too much time out of that one. He's actually now battling with Matthew Thill, and manages to get around him. So that's one position that he's able to make up, but this could mean that he has now lost those positions that he jumped in the pits.
Yeah, he might come if everyone has a good stop, he could be at the back of that large pack again. So that certainly could cost him a few positions, Joe.
You have to.
And it looks like Donny Leonard, who was in the race, although I think he was multiple laps down already, he has lost the connection.
So has Lance Snyder, it looks like, as well. I think that might have been earlier on in the race, though. I have to feel for poor Mark Seidler because he's been putting on a hell of a performance, and sometimes it's been his fault. Other times, I think he's just had some bad luck around here. I'm seeing him scored in 13th at the moment. I'm not entirely sure if that's accurate since he actually just passed Matthew Thill, so he should be in 12th this time by, but he's still got to get back past Clint Myers and Scott Power. Where is Gooden and Vaughn and Schmidt? Still haven't come in. These guys still continuing on. We have about 14 minutes left, so these guys have to be towards the end of the pit window at this point.
Well, yeah. Top 9 cars have yet to pit, Bill.
Yeah, and it's really going to come down to how quickly Gooden can do this. Now, he's got a 1.8 second lead on Vaughn. That should give him a little margin of error. If I was Vaughn, I would be thinking, what is the least amount of fuel I can get? Certainly tires are not going to be an issue here.
And actually about a half-second gain for Gooden over Vaughn that last lap by, so Vaughn might have run into some traffic or had just a little bit of a problem somewhere along the line. Meanwhile, he is still being held very honest by Leandro Schmidt. This is pretty much Canada all over again, it seems, between these guys.
Derek Waller and Kyle Potts are in the pits. They were running 5th and 6th, but there was a massive gap between them. As a matter of fact, Mark Peterson's going to get by Kyle Potts, but Kyle Potts only lost 1 spot during that pit stop.
Very well done to Potts on that, who's still holding on to 5th. And it looks like this is going to be a very handy finish for him. In fact, I believe, was he one of the ones that was disqualified from the top at the Spa race? I can't remember.
He was.
Yes, he was.
So this, hopefully, if he can make it to the end, I'm not going to try and curse the poor guy, this should make up for what would have been a very good finish for him last week.
Leader in the pits. Well, Gooden is in.
So Wyatt Gooden taking his pit, so did Kevin Vaughn and Leandro Schmidt. Where is Alex Blau? Alex Blau is continuing on.
He's your new leader, but yeah, let's watch these pit stops and see what kind of pit time they get. The pit times we've been getting are anywhere from about 14 to 16 seconds. Wyatt Gooden came in with a 2.5 second lead, so providing he doesn't do anything wrong, he should be out the pit. A really quick stop, but Vaughn's is quicker. They're all nose to tail coming off a pit road.
Oh, and Gooden makes a mistake. He almost spins coming out of pit lane and gathers it together. Very well done, but this has lost him 2 positions as now Kevin Vaughn is into the lead and Leandro Schmidt is into second.
And we've got a race.
This is going to be interesting. We have not seen Wyatt Gooden have to try and claim positions, only defending his lead. So now, can he be good with these cars on track? What is his racecraft like today, Sam?
I don't know. It seemed he just panicked coming out there on pit road. There was no need for him to hurry. Vaughn couldn't technically pass him on pit exit. But right now, Kevin Vaughn's got it. And also, this is the first time Schmidt has had a sniff at Vaughn. Obviously, they're not able to overtake through this portion of the circuit. But a 2.5 second lead was nothing to sneeze at. So I'm pretty sure Gooden is the fastest car. Unless he's getting a bit of aero push back there, he should be able to catch these drivers and challenge for position.
And I think Wyatt might have been just a little bit shaken, and he misses another apex. I was going to say, he missed the apex in China Beach. Now he missed the apex of 10. So I wonder if he's just maybe a little bit shaken up from that mistake, kind of kicking himself. He might possibly have the red mist down and be overdriving the car.
Well, sometimes, those drivers who are fast are like a bully. You punch him in the nose and they back down. So he's got to slay the dragon now, not with his shield. He's got to use his sword.
Perfect analogy for this one. But and Vaughn goes wide. and there was an opportunity for Schmidt, but he wasn't quite able to take advantage of it in the keyhole. Now he's very close, heading down the backstretch up towards China Beach. He's gonna have the draft. Is he gonna make an attempt? If I was in Schmidt's car, I would be trying around the outside, but it looks like instead Vaughn decides to take that line, knowing that he can defend, and they come together, and Vaughn is off the track. So is Leandro Schmidt. Gooden goes through back into the lead.
And here comes Bilal for second. Bilal, if Schmidt's car is damaged, he might easily be able to pick up second for him. But once again, Gooden has used his talent and also a little bit of luck to pretty much wrap up another victory.
I'm not going to lie, that is a wasted opportunity for Vaughn and Schmidt. They could have had that lead ahead of Wyatt Gooden to try and run down the championship, but now Gooden, I don't think he is even going to be touchable because there is a long ways back to Schmidt, and Alex Bilal just got tipped off the track. I'm sorry, no, he wasn't. It was actually, he spun on his own. We're going to watch that now. That was coming into the very tricky turn 10.
Yeah, he was closing on Schmidt, and he just got a little nervous, and he backed. I think he hit the brakes in the middle of the apex and lost it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in one lap, the running order was 1, 2, 3, 4, and it flipped to 4, 3, 2, 1. They pretty much all traded positions. Meanwhile, everyone has made a pit stop, so every position you watch from now to every battle you watch from now to the end is a battle for position, such as a battle for 6 going on between Mark Zeidler trying to rally his way back up into 6th place by Scott Power finally.
Yes, and he's ahead right now, but he's going to have to be defensive up into the keyhole as he gets a bad exit coming out of turn 1. Now we've got Scott Power coming up the outside, tries to outbrake him, isn't able to do it. Just behind them, Clint Myers is hungry to try and take the position away, and he's not able to do it as they're line astern coming down the backstretch. So, with all the action that we've just witnessed, just a reminder, there's only 8 minutes left on the clock, and it looks like Scott Power was taking a look down the inside into China Beach, but I think he's going to be covered off as Zeidler has the inside into Madness, and now we've got an opportunity for Clint Myers, and tries to find his way past, but he is not able to do it as Scott Power successfully defends through Madness. I was going to say, with all that we've been seeing, guys, I feel like we're seeing the pressure start to make a few of these top guys crack. They were all running very immaculate races, but nobody could make any mistakes. And the second someone did, it was like, you know, a chain reaction of mousetraps being set off. When one makes one, everybody pounces, and the pressure is just piled on doubly so, and we see everyone just have little cracks showing.
Everybody but Wyatt Gooden.
Well, you have to remember, he was the one that set it all off. So he's not completely infallible. We've seen he can make mistakes if you pressure him into it. Now, I don't think he took tires, but his tires may have cooled off. I'm wondering if that maybe contributed to his bit of a slide, but I'm sure that's a mental note that he's going to be making for later on in the season.
You know, that's right. I forgot he did. He slid off into the grass, didn't he? So Gooden made a mistake, Schmidt made a mistake, Vaughn made a mistake, and Bilal all made a mistake. The top 4 drivers.
Yeah, Gooden didn't take tires, but he did take the trees, and everyone else got stuck in the trap.
Meanwhile, I'm going to pull a note from your book, Bill. Kyle Potts sitting in 5th all by himself. I think we need to give him just a little bit of screen time. He's been running a very good race today, and he doesn't have anybody to challenge him because Mark Zeidler is a long ways back, almost half the track behind him. And that just shows you how hard these top guys are running. Even with mistakes by the top 4, the 5th place guy can't even touch them. He's still got a ways up to Alex Bilal, and even behind them, you know, like about a 15-second gap. Just incredible stuff.
Yeah, I think. And we have a pass with Vaughn taking over 2nd place now to get in front of Schmidt.
And you can see that on your screen. That green and white car has moved himself into that 2nd position quite handily, and I don't think Schmidt has anything for him with 5.5 minutes left to go.
Let's go back. We'll touch on Kyle Potts again. He is all by himself, running nicely in 5th place. And I think Mark Zeidler has finally ran out of people to pass because he's, like you said, it looks like 26 seconds behind Potts for 5th place. So I don't think Zeidler's going to get a top 5 unless one of the drivers up top have some type of unforeseen problem.
I want to take another page out of Bill's book and put a camera on the 14th place driver, John Kelly. I believe he will get the award, which I believe is rewarded with a little bit of money. John Kelly started last on the grid, 27th place. He is currently running in 14th position.
On the lead lap.
Yeah, slow but steady sometimes. Doesn't win you the race, but it gets you a nice little bonus in this series as he wheels his way through madness. So, you were mentioning Mark Zeidler not having anybody else to pass. He's still got time. There's still 5 minutes left. He could make another mistake if he wants to.
That's true.
And we saw Hiro Kanaya actually off track, I think, for a moment, possibly. Actually, we're on John Kelly right now, it looks like, still. So we did not see Hiro Kanaya. Hiro is actually into the pits, so he might have had some damage or something there, because it's an unusual time for him to be going in for a pit stop.
I think it's important to say, that the GSRC, we have no affection for Mark Zeidler. He was just really putting on the show today.
Meanwhile, George Fike was running 12th last lap and he had an off over in madness. He has fallen down to 13th place and he has been hounded for that position by John Kelly. So Kelly might be able to pick off one more spot before this is all done.
And that'll be a phenomenal performance. And he takes a look coming into the keyhole, but that wasn't an actual pass attempt, but it may have shaken George Fike, who completely missed his apex through that corner. That was just a little high on here maneuver from Kelly, and it seemed to work just a little bit as he tries to close up. He's not close enough as they head into China Beach, but I think you're right. If he's hungry enough, he could get that top 13.
I think the battle we might want to keep an eye on, maybe we can go back up and look at second here, between Kevin Vaughn and Leandro Schmidt as they go through some lap traffic right now. These guys are really close, and Schmidt's closing in on him, that dark car, Vaughn in the orange car just ahead.
Yeah, this is definitely not what we're used to seeing with these guys, because even though Canada had a bit of traffic, it wasn't very significant, I don't believe. And then Spa, obviously, everyone was pretty spread out. So this is more indicative, I think, of some of these smaller tracks of what these guys can do. And this is allowing Leandro Schmidt to really stay right on the bumper of Vaughn and keep that pressure on.
Nguyen in front of him. Remember, Nguyen had contact with the leaders earlier when he was lap car, and he's not making it easy for them again. Now Schmidt's going to be able to close right up on Vaughn. Vaughn takes to the outside as they come through Thunder Valley. This is not the best overtaking opportunity, but Schmidt is certainly within attack distance now, and I believe they'll be coming to 2 laps left to go. Don't quote me on that too much.
Oh, and just a little bit of a bobble from Schmidt as he is really pushing that car to try and give himself a chance. And just behind them, that is a lapped car of Christopher Thompson that you can see, so he is not involved in this battle at all. However, Schmidt trying to keep every opportunity. Now, I don't think that you can really fault Nguyen for where he was in that situation, because you can't really pull over at any place through Madness where they were. He did as soon as he got an opportunity through Thunder Valley, which is really your first chance after Madness to try and make way. So I have to give credit to Nguyen to being heads up and not making an unpredictable move in the midst of madness. Now, in the meantime, Leandro Schmidt is taking a look down the backstretch. He is going to go to the outside. This could be a bad move by Kevin Vaughn. As we've seen, that outside is the place to be coming into China Beach. But no, Schmidt is not able to hold it. He tries for a crossover, but that's going to put him in the wrong place. He gives himself a little bit of a better apex coming into madness. And it's just not enough as he has to slot back into line. So, a minute and a half left to go, and Schmidt is running out of chances to get up to second.
And lap traffic should no longer play a factor for them. The next lap car they have in front of them is 18th place Matthew Thiel, the league organizer, who obviously has the pace to stay in front of them by about a 10-second gap in front of them right now. But Thiel has got to be a bit upset, a bit disappointed, I should assume, with an 18th place finish after top 10, I believe, at Spa last week. No, that he got 11th, I believe, at Spa.
This is going to be very interesting to see if we get a white flag this time, because it's about 120 laps around here, and I believe it was just about that time when Wyatt Gooden went across the start-finish line, so we'll have to keep an eye on, see if he gets the checkered flag. Meanwhile, Schmidt still not giving up, still on the back of of Vaughn here, now heading down the backstretch. Now, is Vaughn going to go defensive since it worked for him last time? It's a risky move if he does. He does stay defensive. Is Schmidt going to be able to make it happen this time? He's going to have to be good under braking. He loses just a little bit of ground and isn't able to hold on to it. Boy, Vaughn is just phenomenal into that corner.
And you've got to think that Schmidt is hoping there's one more lap, because that's really the last overtaking opportunity. But Lee McGovern, who was running 17th, has crashed. They'll be coming up to his car in a bit, so yellow flags around there. But they got 10 seconds left, and Wyatt Gooden's entering the carousel. I don't see any signs of a white flag, Joe. I think they're getting one to go this time by.
I believe you are correct, and it's going to be right as he crosses the line. Right, literally 0 seconds as he crossed the line. Incredible timing by Wyatt Gooden, and that's going to be lap 34 that he is on. So now let's hop back to Kevin Vaughn and Leandro Schmidt. Schmidt has dropped back a bit. He's got to really get up on that bumper to make this attempt next time.
Yeah, he's a little bit far out. He's really got to do a good execution of a keyhole, because really going down into China Beach was the last great overtaking opportunity around here. But nothing stellar through the keyhole. Kevin Vaughn certainly has a gap over him. The only thing I could imagine Schmidt will do would be a dive bomb down in the carousel, which I wouldn't advise, but on the last lap, anything goes, Bill.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get him or not. He's running out of time. And by the way, Wyatt Gooden looks like he's just going to cruise home here pretty soon.
Yes, and actually a bit of a mistake from Schmidt coming into madness as Vaughn starts to gap him just a little bit. I think Schmidt has got to give up the ghost here on this one. No dive bombs for him. Meanwhile, Wyatt Gooden now heading towards the carousel. This guy has been untouchable, but now we've seen that he is not completely perfect, but he is perfect in his wins. He's going to make it 3 for 3 here at Mid-Ohio with the third win in the DIYsim.com BMW Z4 Challenge. Meanwhile, Kevin Vaughn comes to the line to take second, and Leandro Schmidt is going to complete the podium.
That's a damage limitation right there, but you got to think they've got to be thinking what could have been. Alex Below gets 4th position. Carl Potts across the line in 5th, and there's a long way back to 6th position. Mark Zeidler, Bill, but we got a battle for 13th still between John Kelly behind George Fike.
These are the last guys on the lead lap. Let's go ahead and watch them go to the checkered flag here. It's Fike and Kelly.
And Fike has actually started to pull away just a little bit, so I don't think Kelly is going to be able to get him, unfortunately. And actually, we were watching a battle between 3 cars going to the line there. I'm not sure who that was.
Looks like Myers and Waller, and was it Waller who got there first? I think Waller beat Myers for 8th and 9th position.
Great stuff from those guys. We apologize for not catching that a little bit earlier. It was, in fact, Fike who beat Kelly to the line. Now that we've had everybody finish, we are going to hop to a short break. We'll bring you the unofficial results and some interviews, so stick around.
Welcome to DIYsim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYsim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.
Welcome back to Mid-Ohio after 45 minutes for round 3 in the DIYSim.com BMW Z4 Challenge. Wyatt Gooden has won once again. Behind him, Kevin Vaughn took second, Leandro Schmidt took third, Alex Bilal was fourth, Kyle Potts finished fifth, Mark Zeidler worked very hard to get himself up into sixth, Scott Power took seventh, Derek Waller finished eighth, Clint Myers was ninth, and Craig McKenzie finished in 10th, Sam.
11th place was Joseph Anderson. Mark Robertson was 12th. Then that battle we were keeping an eye on, George Fike and John Kelly, 13th and 14th. John Balath was 15th. Bruce Paul was 16th. Matthew Thiel came home 17th. Sure, he won't be too happy with that. Christopher Thompson, 18th. Lee McGovern, 19th. And Thomas Pendergrass down in 20th. One lap down, Bill.
Justin Allen was 21st, Patrick Nguyen 22nd, followed by Matt Malone. That's a tough race for Matt. He was up front there for a while, higher up. Hiro Kanea 24th, Lance Snyder, followed by Donnie Leonard, and wrapping up in 27th spot, 30 laps down, is Kevin Ross.
And we have some interviews to do. First of all, we have our leader, our winner, Wyatt Gooden with us. Wyatt, it seemed like you had things in control for most of the race, and then that pit exit came. Was it tires that have cooled down? What exactly happened that caused the bobble?
Yeah, well, it kind of caught me off guard that I had exited the pits and Kevin and Leandro were right behind me. I thought I had everything kind of calculated right, but apparently, they took a little bit less fuel than me, and I was just kind of in a hurry to get out of pit road there. And then when I got in full throttle basically right on pit exit, and the tires were a little bit cooler than I expected them to be, and I got pretty lucky not to spin in the grass at least.
Now tell us about the change in emotions when you watched the two cars in front of you battling for the lead and then suddenly go off.
Oh yeah, man. It certainly was a roller coaster of thoughts, but Yeah, when it happened, actually, I was kind of disappointed. Like, man, I just lost the lead, and I had a comfortable lead up until this point. Like, what just happened? But then about a half a lap later, I kind of, settled back into my groove, and I knew the tires were going to be good to the end, and I knew I had a good car. So I was actually kind of excited. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a pretty fun challenge here, trying to get around these guys in the last 10 minutes. So actually, when they had spun each other out, I was kind of disappointed because I was looking forward to racing with them.
A true racer at heart, I suppose. Well, what are your thoughts on Silverstone? Do you think you can make it 4 for 4 in a week's time?
Yeah, Silverstone is kind of it's a so-so track for me. I don't really love it. I don't really hate it. So, I think I should be okay there.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you, and I apologize. That's 2 weeks' time, actually. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thanks.
We also have Kevin Vaughn, and I believe Bill Zahn is going to talk to Kevin Vaughn.
Kevin, congratulations, I guess, on your second place finish. I'm sure you're a little disappointed in that with the circumstances that went on. I have 2 questions for you. First, your pit stop, and then second, the incident. Let's start with the incident. I spent a lot of time reviewing incidents for IRT. Let me have your impression. Have you had a chance to review it, and what do you think happened?
Yeah, I took a look at it, and I just think that he was maybe a little bit too aggressive, or he just missed his braking point. But either way, he braked way too late, and he was still going straight at the apex. So there was nowhere for him to go except for me, and I had nowhere to go except for get hit by him.
Yeah, that was pretty much my take. He had great presentation, but you've got to be able to turn in sometime, and he wasn't going to hit the apex. Now let's talk about the pit stop. Were you surprised to get out ahead of Gooden?
Yeah, I knew there's always a possibility, but it looks like he just took one more gallon of fuel. So, and for the timing for me to be right in his bumper, I'm not sure what happened with him when he got sideways and got in the grass, though.
Well, that's right. You didn't get out. He made a little mistake, and you got by him. You guys came out 1, 2, 3. Pretty close. A pretty exciting race anyway. A second place finish is good. You've made all the races oh no, you missed a race, so you're really not in the championship chase. You're going to keep coming. Are you expecting to be there 2 weeks from today?
Oh yeah, I'm doing this for fun. It's a great time. The racing's been really good. Chasing Wyatt Gooden down is a blast, even though it's insanely hard. But yeah, I'll keep coming.
All right, well, better luck next time. Congratulations on second place. Back to you, Joe.
And we also have Sam ready to talk to our 5th place finisher, and that was Kyle Potts. Go ahead, Sam.
Kyle Potts ran an impressive top 5 finish from 6th place on the starting grid today. Ran up there all race, Kyle. Kind of a quiet race for you, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. My plan was just to finish tonight. Didn't get very lucky on the first 2 races, but spot's a tough one. I'm happy with my result tonight for sure.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see a regular in the series finally getting a break and finishing up there at the front. What are your thoughts heading into Silverstone next week?
I'd like to keep this momentum going, try and get back up. I'd like to be, top 10 in the points here pretty soon. Really like to fight for a podium this season, try and get some of that sweet prize money. But, yeah, just try and keep a clean race and do as good as I can.
Well, a top 5 is certainly heading in the right direction. Congratulations on your 5th place finish today, Carl, and we wish you the best over in Silverstone.
Hey, thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
And just, excuse me, just behind Kyle, we have Mark Zeidler. Now, Mark, as we were watching throughout the race, we started to get the impression that you just like passing people.
I definitely didn't have a good night, but if there were passing points, I'd kicked ass, didn't I?
That's for sure. So you had that initial trouble on lap 1 with the tip. What was going through your head as you saw the field start to stream past down the backstretch?
The only thing I saw was red.
I'm sure. And then, as things continued on, what was going on exactly when you got tipped by the lapped car of Nguyen coming through the carousel? Was that a mistake because we didn't get a close look at it, or did you make just an over-aggressive move on that? What happened?
I'm not real sure what happened there. I'd still would like to talk with him about it. But coming through that left-hander there, he made a mistake, got real wide, and slowed down a bunch. So I I tried to dive around him on the outside. I thought I left him, like a half a track dues, but he just kept coming left until he hit me.
And the other question that we had for you was that how many incident points did you wind up? Because we were kind of wondering if they were starting to add up and that you might accidentally get disqualified.
No, I only ended up with 11. I think I had a 4X from when I spun out in front of Scott. And, well, obviously one other 4X, but then I just had a couple off tracks.
All right. Well, commiserations. You qualified so well in third, but we're not able to capitalize today. We hope to see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone.
All right. See you guys there.
Well, guys, we saw another fantastic race here in the VSRA BMW Z4 Challenge, but we've got to thank a few people before we take off. Obviously, we want to thank DIYsim.com, the official sponsor of this series. Also, thanks to Scott Power and Matt Thill, the organizers. We have to thank the software and hardware that we use to make these broadcasts possible, iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Also, thanks to the team today, Kevin, Bill, and Sam. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Thanks goes out to Doug Beard, who creates all of the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel. A special thank you goes to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. As we have mentioned, Silverstone is our next race. That'll be 2 weeks' time, Sunday, June 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern. Our next broadcast, however, is a week from now. That's the Enduro Pro Series at Sonoma, Saturday, May 24th at 8:45 a.m. Pacific. Then we have the simracing.pl race at the Circuit of the Americas, Saturday, May 25th, 5:45 p.m. UTC. Then we have the Northwest Majors Indy 500, naturally, at Indianapolis, Sunday, May 25th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Then we have the iSuperspeedway Series kicking off at Talladega, Friday, May 30th at 10 p.m. Eastern. And finally, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series returns at Kansas Motor Speedway, Saturday, June 14th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.